All right. Hey, everybody. We are here with Travis Cluff and Chris Lofing. They are the two directors behind the new film Held that arrives in on DVD and on demand July 13th. And let me give you the rundown there. A couple's ailing marriage is put to the test when they are held hostage in an isolated vacation rental by an unseen voice that commands their every move. Travis, Chris, how are you guys?
Good, thanks. Thanks for
Good,
having
man.
us.
Yeah, it's fun to be on here.
Yeah, thank you for being on. This is an unlikely story. Sorry, I
Yeah.
can't. I had to. Yeah. So, how did this project come about?
Well,
It's kind of an unlikely story.
it really
actually.
is actually. Travis was actually just out. What were you doing? Were you just taking out the trash or something?
No, I think my kids were out in the front yard and there was a lady who was with her husband. They were walking their dog and it's kind of a new neighborhood. And so I was just trying to introduce myself and say, hey, I don't think we've met yet. Are we neighbors? And she said, no, actually, but you're neighbors with my sister who lives across the street. And I'm just visiting from LA. I'm from here originally, but we're just visiting family for the weekend. I was like, great. What do you do? She's like, well, I'm an actress. I was like, oh, okay, well, cool. What have you been in or been working on? And she's like, well, I've done just a bunch of small things, but I also wrote and directed and starred in a short that we filmed here over the summer. And then I said, well, let me see this short. I'd love to see it. And I actually make films and write and direct and produce and
Yeah, it was kind of serendipitous.
from that moment, it was like, okay, well, let's see if there's something we can do.
And that was, of course, Jill Aubrey, the star and writer of Held. And over the next 8 to 9 months, we collaborated with Jill to work on this script. And she would come up from LA, visit us here. We'd have meetings and
We kind of developed this cool story and she did a great job of putting the script together. And we we just went and made the movie.
Yeah.
Now, where is here? You guys, are you up in Central California?
We're in Central California. Yeah, we're far enough away from Hollywood that we don't get jaded, and we're close enough to jump in and infiltrate a bit.
Yeah.
Well, that's smart. That's totally smart. Yeah, Jill's script is it's pretty intense, very clever too. What were the key things that made either of you say yes to this project? Like, what really pulled you in?
Well, I think a couple of the things were, one, it was very contained. Jill was definitely writing it in a way. She was writing a movie that could get made, and not have to wait around for, substantial funding or getting through a lot of red tape or, expensive or complicated sequences that just were, hard to do. She was really writing a movie that could get made in Fresno or elsewhere for a low budget. So that was probably number one for us. Like we try to do things that can actually get made,
Well, I mean, that was something that we encouraged though as well. I mean,
Yeah.
we that's how we write when we do our movies. That's when when we are talking about collaborating with others, we try to find and develop movies that can be made if no one else was going to help us.
Yeah.
And we usually end up being able to get help or find distribution or whatever, because we work hard to create a great product and a fun thrill ride. And
one of our favorite quotes is, of course, Mark Duplass, the cavalry isn't coming, from his South by Southwest speech. And it's totally true, especially for indie filmmakers out there or people like Jill, who were really just completely starting from scratch, starting out. It's like no one's going to give you that handout. You got to go make something and then make people pay attention to it, by making it just good enough. And that was probably the other thing that really caught our eye was the message of the film, the themes that Jill really wanted to incorporate in the film. Very timely, very potent, and just they felt like they really stood out and would be something different in the landscape and different for us too, something different for us to produce as well.
Yeah, I think we were excited about, well, there's several things. We're excited to take someone else's kind of message and voice and give them a chance. we're independent all the way through. All the movies we've done so far, we've done them independently. They've just been picked up. Like the Gallows was picked up by WB and New Line, and Blumhouse, all that was after we'd created the movie. Same thing with the sequel. We kind of did that, and then Lionsgate picked up the sequel to the Gallows, and we've produced a couple other smaller ones, but Held really was, again, it was like, again, we just did this independent thing, and we wanted to give her story an opportunity to be told, and we wanted to help tell that story. I remember talking to a couple of people in Hollywood, and they were a little bit like, well, oh, she wants to star in it, and we were like, yeah, I mean, she's writing it so that she can actually be in it. She's kind of making her own way. It's kind of a cool story,
right.
Kind of like we have with our films, and we're like, yeah, we like that. We like that gumption, that attitude, that unstoppable, nature that people have when they're going to just get through it, even if there's no openings for them to get through it, they're going to go for it.
Right.
And, when they were like, oh, well, yeah, maybe if someone else was in it, or what, it's like, oh man, how are you going to tout, positivity, or giving a shot to women, only if they're famous women? Like, how are you gonna, like, what's up with that? Like, this is a new person, she's talented, she's writing this thing, we've been helping develop it, and we feel confident with it. It's go time. Let's put our money where our mouth is, and we did that. So we're proud of the fact that we did that, and we weren't limiting or tossing anyone to the side. We just like that we got a chance. We want to give that chance to others as well.
And yeah, I absolutely love that. And I love that she built her own vehicle, basically, and just did it.
Yeah.
So you guys have found a niche in horror. What is it about this genre that draws you guys in?
Well, honestly, we are fans of, we would consider ourselves fans of all kinds of movies, but really we're drawn to story first. And honestly, our favorite genre is really more in the sci-fi, fantasy, adventure. Like I'd liken it more like Spielberg type movies. But horror has been good to us in the sense that it's allowed us to play, allowed us to build our skill set, allowed us to make content frequently and without those barriers, kind of like what I was saying with Held. It's a simple enough movie that we can go make it and see it all the way through to completion, because there's a lot of projects that get started and never get finished, sadly. So that's probably the number one reason why we like to do horror films, because they can actually get done and be a huge learning opportunity for everyone involved. And we've had a blast doing it. We are excited to branch out and do other genres, and grow in our films and start to do, bigger things. Like we just recently shot a pilot episode for a pitch that we're creating, and it's an action comedy. It's very much like a Rush Hour type, very different from Held or Gallows or anything. So we're fans of all kinds, but horror has been super fun to learn and grow in.
Yeah.
And definitely a supportive genre. That's for sure.
Creating the tensions and the thrills.
The fans are great. The fans are great too of horror. Yeah.
They're fantastic.
Yeah, they're probably some of the best.
Yeah.
You guys like to work together as co-directors. So why is that? What about this directing relationship works?
Well, we both pick up slack where each other lacks, we're both pretty good at all the things that are needed, but we have some different backgrounds. It's like I had a background more in like marketing and finance and marketing and that kind of stuff, until like the bubble burst. And then I was like, what's going on? What do we do? And then we met, and he had a much better technical understanding of filmmaking than I did.
Went to film school and had, made a bunch of short films and stuff. So, but
we're both creative though.
Yeah. And I didn't know anything about the financial or marketing side of making a movie. It was all just purely, technical side, like he said.
So when we would come up with a concept or create something, we could get through it. But I always had kind of this marketing, eyeball on it, and he would have this great technical eyeball on it, and collaborating allowed us to really create stuff that's marketable. Like a lot of the trailers you've seen for a lot of our movies, we come up with those. We film pieces of those prior to even finishing the film or even getting distribution.
Yeah, actually, even the trailer for Hell, we cut that. Like that was our trailer. We actually had a version of it that we were using for showing sales agents and stuff before the movie was picked up by Magnolia. And then Magnolia loved it, and we're just like, yeah, let's just make a couple of tweaks, trim it up a little bit, but otherwise it's good to go. So we're like, okay, cool. So like we enjoy that kind of stuff, and we always go into a project with that specifically in mind.
We're always just ready that if no one is going to help us out, we have to be able to make our own way. And we're just thankful that Held got such a great, reputable distributor in Magnolia that like it's great. We're excited to be working with them on getting it out to the world.
Yeah, Magnolia is awesome. And this this definitely gives you a much broader scope when you're putting things together, you know.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
So okay, so Travis, you grew up in SoCal. Yeah.
I did. Yeah.
And Chris, you grew up in Nebraska. So how did this happen?
How did that work?
Yeah.
So after I graduated high school in Nebraska, I moved out to LA to do film school. I did the New York Film Academy 1-year program there.
Was the one down in Burbank?
Yeah, the one in Burbank, the Studio City.
Yeah.
And I just did the 1-year program and had a blast, met a lot of great people. And my thesis film brought me to Fresno, Central California, which is where Travis was living with his family at the time since your senior year.
Yeah, I moved from Newport Beach my senior year of high school to Clovis, California. It's like this small little suburb area of Fresno, which is actually pretty great. I mean, I got kids now and they're in some really cool schools, and just the people are really nice. And movie making is still a magical process here.
Yeah.
You know, that's part of the allure for us to stay here, is that, you know, people are excited to, you know,
participate,
bring us punch and cookies while letting us film in their house.
Yeah.
You know,
that's so awesome.
The household where we filmed Held, like, this guy is a friend, hadn't been a friend for very long.
No, I mean, we didn't know him for maybe more than a couple months,
but he moved his family out for an entire month and let us move in.
Yeah.
And
I was going to ask you where that was.
Yeah, it's this cool place in Fresno. A little bit of trivia here. It's kind of cool. In the movie, it looks like it's in the middle of nowhere in this orchard. It's actually right in the middle of a neighborhood. We did some visual effects trickery to make it look like it was out in the middle of nowhere. But he actually has just a few orchard trees like in his front yard. And we basically took that and some other plates and just replicated it to make it look like it was everywhere. But it's a really cool house. It's like this interesting vibe of like vintage modern is kind of what we call it.
Futuristic vintage.
Yeah. It's like this, you know, mid-century modern home.
Yeah, but that's kind of scary, right? Futuristic vintage.
Yeah.
It's like everything has a cycle, you know?
Yeah.
Sometimes the cycles can be very bad.
Yeah.
You know, but hey, bell bottoms, we see those every once in a while. They come back. Right now, I think mom jeans are popular among the girls. Right? What are we doing?
Corduroy. Come on now, guys.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, that's pretty awesome. That location was definitely a find.
It was really cool. It made the movie, honestly. Like, we wouldn't have been able to do it. The schedule, the budget, just the time frame and the opportunity that presented itself with that location.
Yeah.
And it's such a huge part of the movie too. Once you see the film, like the location is pretty key, you know?
Yeah, most definitely. So I guess my final question to you is, I mean, because this has been a really film-centric interview, is what is your advice to other filmmakers working on a shoestring budget? You guys, you guys create something out of nothing. You had for a while, maybe this is still true, the least expensive movie to be taken to worldwide distribution. What gives? How do you do this? What's your advice?
Well, it is tiring.
It is tiring.
It would be nice to just have someone throw a couple mil at us. We'd make
so coffee.
we'd make several movies and they'd all be successful. I feel, with our team.
I think that record does still hold up. Honestly, there's a lot of advice we give. The short answer is tune into our new podcast because we're going to be talking about all of that.
It's about indie filmmaking.
There's the marketer right there.
It is
Honestly,
about indie filmmaking and like how to do stuff. And we talk to composers and
the logo there where
and,
there's on that side, Unlikely Story,
and writers and actors. Yeah, just
we're going to release the first few episodes tomorrow, actually. And the very first episode is our story, talking about how we literally came from, film school for me and no film school, no experience whatsoever to creating
the Gallows,
the Gallows, and again, doing that on, like you said, a shoestring budget and getting it to the attention of who we got it to. But it really, there's a lot of different factors. I'd say the number one though is just keep creating.
Just go do it.
Go make stuff, even if it's on your phone. And honestly, that's like a pretty good option these days.
I have like 4K on this thing, 4K resolution on a stupid telephone.
Yeah.
Go shoot something. Hopefully it's this way. If it has to be this way, that's
hold
fine.
it like, don't hold it.
Don't do the vertical.
No.
If you're making a TikTok movie, fine, but let's make it cinematic. Let's use it and really get in there and make something with your phone. You can get some great cinematic shots. And do it with your friends, do it with your family, your siblings, whatever. Create stuff. Make it dramatic, make it scary, make it funny, whatever. Just create. And as you do it, you'll get skills. You'll develop and you'll understand what people go through. The more you go through different things, the more you'll understand it. And it'll just get easier and easier. It'll become second nature. But it's the process of continuing to create that we encourage people to do.
Excellent. Yeah, it's like Churchill said, if you're going through hell, just keep going. So
one of my favorite lines in The Freshman with Matthew Broderick, he says, there's kind of a comfort in being completely screwed. It couldn't get any worse.
Yeah. You even did a good Matthew Broderick right there.
Oh, thank you.
Great.
Travis usually tries to dial in the impersonations of whoever he's quoting. Well, and he gets pretty close usually.
Yeah. I always thought that was a great line because I've been in spots where I'm like, I feel like this is completely screwed. Like how, like there's a comfort in that.
Well, and there's a lot of stories that we actually go into on the podcast too about that specific thing, feeling like we're about to pull the plug, like we're about to just give up on this movie. There's literally everything working against us and nothing working for us. And I feel like every filmmaker feels that at some point.
And maybe they're supposed to.
Yeah.
To know, that they can overcome that or that they have the strength or ability to overcome it. I guess it's like anything, if you work hard and hurdles come up and you're able to get over those hurdles, then it just makes you so much stronger as a person and as a filmmaker. So
Absolutely. Now, what the name of the podcast again?
Unlikely Story. Unlikely Story. It's on Apple and Spotify, and it'll be on our YouTube channel, our Tremendum YouTube channel as well to watch because we're filming them here in the studio.
And we think it's great because we want people to understand that there's a lot of near misses and things.
And we have guests on talking a lot of people like us who've just kind of carved their own path, made their own way, creating stuff from their garage or their bedroom or whatever, and making amazing things. So it's pretty cool, and I think it's honestly the main goal of it is to inspire young people who are trying to get into filmmaking, whether it be movies, TV, TikTok, Instagram, whatever it is you're making stuff
creators,
on, just creating stuff.
Because like some of the classics almost didn't get made, like Back to the Future almost didn't get made. This new one coming out, Free Guy, spent 10 years with everyone telling it no.
And then a pandemic hit it, and then
Stranger Things, everyone said no, but like if you have the fight, you may not know you have the fight. That's the beauty of it. But get yourself in a spot where you can really achieve something, and you'll see. I mean, we've felt that way for us, and we think that people have it in them to be successful in the creative industry, and so that's why we wanted to start that.
Sweet. Well, gentlemen, thank you for talking with me. Thank you for creating. Just keep going. Just keep
Thank you.
doing it.
Awesome.
And Held arrives on DVD on demand July 13th from Magnolia Home Entertainment under the Magnet label. Travis Cluff, Chris Lofing, thank you so much for coming on, and best of luck on your release.
Thanks,
Thank
man.
you.
Appreciate it.
All right, take care.
Take care too.
Okay. Oh, damn, he got out of here fast. Okay.